written by Fulton Wilder. The name of our town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude 42 degrees, 40 minutes. Longitude 70 degrees, 37 minutes. The first act shows a day in our town. Date is May 7th, 1901. Time, just before dawn. Just about. The sky is beginning to show some streaks of light in the east there, back of our mountain. Morning stars gets wonderful bright just before she has to go. Well, I guess I'd better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Current across to the left of the railroad tracks. Further beyond those lies Polish Town. You know, foreigners who come over to work the mills. A couple of Canuck families at the Catholic Church. The Congregational Church is over here. Presbyterians across the street. Methodist and Unitarian are down in the hollow by the river. Next to the post office, here is Town Hall. Jail's in the basement. William Jennings Bryan once made a speech from these very steps here. Along Main Street lies a row of stores, horse blocks and hitching posts out front. First automobile is going to come along in about 5 years. Put on to Banker Cartwright, our town's richest citizen. Lives in the great big White House, up there on the hill. Here's the grocery store and Mrs. Morgan's drugstore. Just about everybody manages to look into these two stores at least once a day. This is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs. And this is his back door. Ah, here's some scenery for those of you who think you've got to have scenery. And this is Miss Gibbs' garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhocks, heliotropes, and a lot of burdock. In those days, our town newspaper came twice a week, the Grover's Corner Sentinel. And this is Editor Webb's house. And this is Miss Webb's garden. Much like Miss Gibbs's, only a lot more sunflowers, too. And this is our butternut tree. Nice town, you know what I mean? Nobody very remarkable ever come out of this, as we can tell. The earliest dates on the tombstones in the east there say 1670s, 1680s. There are Bankers, Cartwrights, Gibbses, Herseys, much the same names as are around here now. Well, as I said, it's early morning. The only lights on in town are over by the railroad tracks, where Polish mothers just had twins. And in the Joe Carl house, where Joe Jr. is getting up as to deliver the morning paper. And in the depot, where Shorty Hawkins is getting ready to flag the 5:45 for Boston. Ah, there she is now. Naturally, out in the country, there have been lights on for some time now, what with the milkmans and so on. But town folk like to sleep late. So, another day has begun. Ah, here's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now. Coming back from that baby case. And that's his wife, Mrs. Gibbs, coming downstairs to make breakfast. Doc Gibbs died in the 1930s. New hospital's named after him. Mrs. Gibbs died first, in fact. Went out to visit her daughter, Rebecca, who married an insurance man from Canton, Ohio. She died there, pneumonia, but her body was brought back here. She's up in the cemetery now, in with a whole mess of Gibbses and Herseys. She was Julia Hersey before she married Doc Gibbs in the Congregational Church, over there. In our town, we like to know the facts about everybody. Here's Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to make her breakfast, too. That's Doc Gibbs. Got the call to go to Polish Town at 1:30 this morning. And here comes Joe Crowd delivering Editor Webb's Sentinel.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Joe.
Say, Doc, you want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it.
Anyone been sick today, Doc?
Oh, pair of twins, over in Polish Town. Joe, I see your teacher, Miss Foster's getting married.
Oh, yeah, she is. Over to that fellow over in Concord.
I declare. How do you boys feel about that?
Well, it ain't none of my business, really. But I think if a girl starts out to be a teacher, she ought to stay one.
How's your knee, Joe?
Oh, it ain't much. Only like I said, it always tells me it's gonna rain.
What's it telling you today? Gonna rain?
No, sir.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
You haven't made a mistake.
No, sir.
I'd like to tell you something about that boy Joe Carl over there. Joe was awful bright, graduated head of his class, so he got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech, MIT that is. Graduated head of his class there too. It was all written up in the Boston papers at the time. Yes, gonna be a great engineer that boy Joe was. But the war broke out and he died in France. What business he had picking a quarrel with them Germans, we can't figure out to this day. It all made perfectly good sense to us at the time.
Yeah, Betsy. What's the matter with you
Here
today?
comes Howie Newsom delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc. Morning, Howard. Someone sick? No, pair of twins. Over to Mrs. Wednesday. They'll get here every year. You ever read to that, Howard? No, fine. Now run through. Oh, Bessie. Hello, Bessie. Oh, 17. You don't think about the drivers and the lock cars out there for milk every day. You're going to do just say. He's rolling the trip.
Morning, Howie.
Good morning, Miss Yip. Talk to you on the street.
Is he? Seems like a place today.
Yes, ma'am. Someone else ever.
Children, time to get up.
Come on, Bessie.
Everything all right, Frank?
Yes. I declare easy as kittens.
Well, just sit down and drink your coffee. Bacon will be ready in a minute. You can catch a couple hours sleep this morning, can't you?
Oh, Miss Wentworth's coming at 11. Guess I know what it's about, too. Her stomach ain't what it ought to be.
All told, you won't get more than 3 hours sleep. Frank Gibbs, I don't know what's going to become of you. I do wish you could go away someplace and get some rest. I think it would do you good. Emily, time to get up! Wally, 7 o'clock! I declare, you gotta speak to George. He's no help to me at all lately. Seems like something's come over him. I can't even get him to chop me some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
No, he just whines. Seems like all he thinks about is that baseball. George!
George, look sharp. Yes, Mom. Don't you hear your mother calling you?
Wally, you'll be late for school!
Well, I guess I'll go up and take 40 winks.
Wally, you better wash yourself good or else I'll come up and do it myself. Mom, what dress should I wear? Don't make a noise. Your father's been out all night and he needs his sleep. I washed it out in the beige calico for you special. Mom, I hate that dress. Oh, hush up with you. Every day I go to school dressed like a sick turkey. Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice. Mom, drinks don't soap in I'll put a slap to both of you. That's what I'll do. I got a melon on time, too. Here, take a bacon. All right, a bit knits from the back of the wash. Now, children, I won't have it. Breakfast is just as good as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling like wolves. It'll stunt your growth, that's a fact. Wally, put away that book.
Oh, Mom, by 10 o'clock I have to know all about Canada.
You know the rules as well as I do. No books at the table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age. I have a wonderful memory.
Eat your breakfast.
I'm bright too, when I'm looking at my stamp collection.
Well, I'll talk to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me 25 cents a week's enough for a boy your age. I declare, I don't know how you spend it all.
Oh, Mom, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry phosphates, that's what you spend it on.
I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I save it up gradual. Well, dear, I think it's good to spend a little money every now and then. Mama, do you know how I love most in the world? Do you? Money. Eat your breakfast. After school, gotta run. Hurry now. Goodbye. But you remember that? No, Rebecca, you look very nice. Pick up your feet. Here, chick, 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 chick. Here, chick, 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 chick. No, you go away, you. Here, chick, 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 chick. What's the matter with you? Fight, fight, fight. That's all you do. Here, chick, chick, chick. I don't know you. Where'd you come from? Oh, don't be scared. No one's going to hurt you. Well, good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold?
Well, I still get that tickly feeling in my throat. I told Charles I didn't know if I'd go to choir rehearsal.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
Yes, but I can't seem to do that and stay on key. While I'm resting myself, I thought I'd string some of these beans.
Well, let me help you.
have been good this year. Yeah, decided to put up 40 quarts if it kills me. Children say they hate them, but I see they managed to get them down all winter. Now, Myrtle Webb, I've got to tell you something. Because if I don't say something to somebody, I'll just burst. Why, Julia Gibbs! Myrtle, did one of those second-hand furniture men from Boston come to see you last Friday? No. Well, he called on me, and at first I thought he was a patient, wanting to see Dr. Gibbs. And he wormed his way into my parlor, and Myrtle Webb, he offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highboy as I'm sitting here. Why, Julia Gibbs! He did, that old thing! Why, I didn't know where to put it. And I almost give it to Cousin Hester Wilcox. Well, you're gonna take it, aren't you? Oh, I don't know. You don't know? $350? What's come over you? Well, if I could get the doctor to take the money and go away on a trip someplace, I'd sell it like that. You know, Myrtle, it's been the dream of my life to see Paris, France. I don't know. Sounds crazy, I suppose. Only I've just been promising myself for years that if we ever got the chance. What's Doc to say about it? Oh, I did beat about the bush a little and say that if I got a legacy, that's the way I put it, that I'd make him take me. What did he say? Oh, you know how he is. I haven't heard a serious word out of him since I've known him. No, he said, it might make him discontented with Grover's Corners to go traipsing about Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. Every 2 years, he makes a trip to the battlefields of the Civil War, and that's enough treat for anybody, he says. Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way the doctor knows everything about the Civil War. He's a good mind to give up Napoleon and move over to the Civil War, and the doctor, being one of the greatest experts in the country, just makes him despair. It's a fact. Dr. Gibbs is never so happy as when he's at Antietam or Gettysburg. Oh, the times I've walked over those hills, Myrtle, stopping at every bush and tasting it all out, like we was going to buy it. Well, Julia, if that second-hand man's really serious about buying it, you sell it, and then you get to see Paris, all right? Just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, no? Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it, only it seems to me that once in your life before you die, you ought to see a country where they don't talk in English and don't even want to. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. That'll do.
Now we'll skip ahead a few hours. But first, we want a little more information on our town. Kind of a scientific account, you might say. So, I've asked Professor Willard of our state university to sketch a few details of our past history here. Professor? May I introduce to you Professor Willard of our state university. Just a few brief notes, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Grover's Corners. Let me see. Grover's Corners lies on the old Pliocene granite of the Appalachian Range. I may say it's some of the oldest land in the world, and we're very proud of that here. Of course, there have been some more recent outcroppings, some sandstone showing through a shelf of Devonian basalt and some vestiges of Mesozoic shale, but these are comparatively new, perhaps 200 or 300 million years. Some highly interesting fossils have been found, I may say unique fossils, 2 miles north of the Peckham farm and Silas Peckham's cow pasture. These may be seen in the museum at the university at any time. That is, at any reasonable time. Shall I go over the notes on the meteorological situation?
Afraid we won't have time for that, Professor. But we may have a few words on our history of man here. You know,
Oh, anthropological data.
Yes.
Early Amerindian stock, Cotahatchee tribes, no evidence before the 10th century of this era, now entirely disappeared. More possible traces and 3 families. Migration in the early part of the 17th century of English brachiocephalic blue-eyed stock, but since then some Slav and Mediterranean.
And the population, Professor Willard.
Within town limits, 2,640.
Excuse me. Professor Willard.
Indeed. The population at the moment is 2,642. The postal district brings in another 507 more, making it a total of 3,149. Mortality birth rates constant by McPherson's gauge 6.032.
Thank you, Professor. We're all very much obliged to you, I'm sure.
Not at all, ma'am, not at all.
Now, the Professor! This way. Now, the political and social report by Editor Willard.
He cut his hand while he was eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Charles, everybody's waiting.
Mr. Webb is the publisher and editor of the Grover's Corner Sentinel. That's our town newspaper, you know.
Well, I don't need to tell you we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote the age of 21. Women vote indirect. We're lower middle class, sprinkling professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republican, 6% Democrat, 4% Socialist, and the rest indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestants, 12% Catholics, and the rest indifferent.
Have you any comments, Editor Webb?
Very ordinary town, if you ask me. A little better behaved than most, probably a lot duller. But the young people seem to like it well enough. 90% of them, after graduating from high school, settle right down here to live, even after being away to college.
Now, is there anyone in our audience who would like to ask Editor Webb a question about our town?
Yes. Is there much drinking in Grover's Corner?
No. Well, Saturday nights, the farmhands meet down by Ellery Greeno's stable in Hollerstone. We got 1 or 2 town drunks, but they get remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, I'd say liquor ain't a regular thing in the home here, except in medicine chest. Right good for snake bite, you know, always was.
Is there anyone in town where social injustice...
Excuse me, sir. Come forward to where we can all hear you. Now, what was it you wanted to say?
Is there no one in town where social injustice and industrial inequality?
Oh, sure, everybody is. Something terrible. Seems like all they ever talk about is who's rich and who's poor.
Then why don't you do something about it?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're all searching for a way the wise and sensible could rise to the top and the lazy and quarrelsome sink to the bottom. But it ain't easy to find. Meanwhile, we do the most we can to help those who can't help themselves, and those that can, we leave alone. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Bev?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bev, is there any culture or love of beauty in Grover's Corners?
No, man, there ain't much. Not in the sense you mean. Well, come to think of it, there's some girls who play the piano down the high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, there's not much culture, but maybe this is the place to tell you we have a pleasures of a kind here. Like, we like the sun coming over the mountains in the morning, and we pay a good deal of attention to the birds. Yes, we know a lot about them, and we notice the changes of the seasons. Yes, we know about them too, but that other stuff, no. Robinson Crusoe, the Bible, Handel's Largo, but that's as far as we. Oh yes, Whistler's Mother. But no, that's as far as we go.
Well, thank you, Editor Webb. Now we'll go back to town. It's 2 o'clock. All 2,642 have had their lunch. The children have gone back to school, and there's a fundamental humming around the school buildings. They do parties on Main Street. Horses, dozen, and pigeon posts. Really have to talk about the town. You remember how it is. Now kids with an office, tap people, make them say, and the pad is going to trap. Put their own lawnmower.
Who do you think you are?
Oh, Papa, you're terrible. 1 minute you told me to stay was spring, the next minute you're calling me names. I just don't listen to you.
Oh, I never got it. Straight away.
Excuse me, Mrs. Morris.
You go out and play in the fields, young man. You have no business playing baseball on Main Street.
Awfully sorry, Mrs. Forrest. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class today.
Well, I was really ready to make a speech on the Monroe Doctrine today, but at the last minute, Miss Corcoran made me talk about the Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both of them.
Gee. You know what's funny, Emily? From my window up there, I can see your head at night when you're doing homework over in your room.
Why, can you?
You certainly do stick to it, Emily. I don't see how a person can sit still that long. I guess you must like school.
Well, I always feel it's something you have to go through.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, really. It passes the time.
Yeah, Emily, what do you think? We might work out a kind of telegraph from your window to mine, and then once in a while you could give me a kind of hint or two about one of those algebra problems? Not the answers, Emily. Of course not. Just a little hint.
Oh. Oh, I think hints are allowed. So, if you get stuck, George, you whistle to me, and I'll give you some hints.
You're just naturally bright, I guess.
I figure it's just the way a person's born.
Yeah. But you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says whenever I'm ready, I can come over to his place and work on his farm. If I'm any good, I can gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, I better be getting back to the baseball fields. Thanks for the talk, Emily. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webber.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George.
Emily, come help me steam these beans for winter. Why, George Gibbs let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? He sure is growing up. How old would George be?
Oh, I don't know.
Let me think. He must be almost 16.
Mama, I made a speech in class today, and I was very good.
You must recite it for your father at supper. What was it about?
The Louisiana Purchase. It was like silk up a spool. I'm going to make speeches all my life. Mama, are these big enough?
Try and get them a little bigger if you can.
Mama, will you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously, will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Of course you are. All my children have got good features. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't.
Oh, but Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
I've already told you yes. You have a nice, young, pretty face. I've never heard of such foolishness.
Oh, Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything.
I am telling you the truth.
Mama, were you pretty?
Yes, if I do say it. I was the prettiest girl in town next to Mammy Cartwright.
Well, then you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get people interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes. Come along now and bring that bowl with you.
Oh, Mama, you're no help at all.
Well, I guess this would be a good time to tell you that the Cartwright interests have just begun building a new bank in Grover's Corners. Had to go all the way to Vermont to the marble, sad to say. And they've asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people 1,000 years from now to dig up. Naturally, they're putting in a copy of the New York Times and an editor Web Sentinel. You see, we're awfully interested in this because some scientific fellows figured out a way of painting all that reading matter with a glue, a silica glue, that'll make it keep 1,000, 2,000 years. We're putting in a Bible and a copy of the Constitution of the United States and a copy of William Shakespeare's plays. So, what do you say, folks? What do you think? You know, Babylon once had over 2 million people in it, and all we know about them is the names of their kings and a couple of wheat contracts and some sales of slaves. But every night, those families sat down for supper, and the father came home from work, and the smoke went up the chimney, same as here. And even in Rome and Greece, all we know about the lives of the real people is what we can piece together out of the joking plays and comedies they wrote for theater back then. So, I'm having a copy of this play put in the cornerstone, so that people 1,000 years from now know a few simple facts about our town, more than the Treaty of Versailles or the Lindbergh flag. You start to see what I mean? So, people 1,000 years from now, this is where we were in the provinces north of New York at the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were in our growing up, and in our marrying, and in our living, and in our dying. Now I'll go back to Grover's Corners. It's evening. You can hear the choir practice going on in the Congregational Church. The children are at home doing their homework, and the day is winding down like a tired old clock.
Must be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love, the fellowship
Now do it again. And remember, ladies, music came in this world to give pleasure. Now try it again.
Must be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love. The fellowship of kin.
Softer. Now look here, everybody. Get it out of your head that music's only good when it's loud. You leave loudness to the Methodists. You couldn't beat them even if you wanted to. Now once again.
Psst, Emily.
Hello.
Hello.
I can't work at all. The moonlight's so terrible.
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third.
Why, yes, George, that's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it. Do you think you could give me a hint?
I'll tell you one thing. The answer's in yards.
In yards, how do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh, in square yards.
Yes, George, don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Oh, I see, in square yards of wallpaper. Thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. My, isn't the moonlight terrible? And choir practice is going on. I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the train all the way to Kentukuk. Hear it?
What do you know?
Well, I guess I better go back and try to work.
Good night, Emily.
Good night, George.
That's better, but it ain't no miracle. Now, before I forget, how many of you will be able to come in Tuesday and sing at Fred Hersey's wedding? Show your hands. That'll be fine. That'll be right nice. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, make it tough.
Oh, George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Bob.
Never mind. Just remember Sunday to take the second verse real soft and sort of die out at the end. Dismissed.
Make yourself comfortable. I'll only keep you a minute. George, how old are you?
Me? I'm 16, almost 17.
What do you want to do after school's over?
Well, you know, Pa, I want to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
You'll be willing, will you? To wake up early and milk and feed the stock? And you'll be able to hoe and hay all day?
Sure, Pa. What do you ask?
Well, George, while I was in my office today, I heard a funny sound. And what do you think that was? It was your mother, chopping wood. There you see your mother getting up early, cooking meals all day long, washing and ironing, and still she has to go out in the backyard and chop wood? I guess she just got tired of asking you and decided it would be easier to give up and do it herself. And you eat her meals and you put on the clothes she keeps nice for you, and you run off and play baseball like she's some hired girl we keep around the house but that we don't like very much? Well, I know all I had to do was call your attention to it. Here's a handkerchief, son. George, I've decided to raise your spending money. 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother, because that's a sort of present you give her, but because you're getting older. And imagine there must be much more you must find to spend it on.
Thanks, Pa.
Let's see. Tomorrow's payday, you can count on it. Probably Rebecca feels she ought to have some more, too. I wonder what could have happened to your mother. Choir practice has never been as late as this before.
It's only 8:30, Pa.
Oh, I don't know why she's in an old choir anyways. She hasn't got any more voice than an old crow. And traipsing around the streets at this hour of night? Just about time you retire, don't you think?
Yes, Paul.
Good night, Martha. Good night, Mr. Foster.
I'll be sure to tell Mr. Webb. I just know he'll want to put it in the paper.
Oh, good night, Irma.
My, it's late. Myrtle Webb, look at that moon, will you? Potato weather for sure.
Naturally, I didn't want to say a word about it in front of those others. But now that we're alone, really, it's the worst scandal that ever was in this town.
What?
Simon Stimson.
Oh, now Luella.
But Julia, to have the organist of a church drink, and drunk year after year?
Luella!
Julia, you know he was drunk tonight.
Now, Luella, we all know about Mr. Stimson and the troubles he's been through, and Dr. Ferguson knows too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him on his job there, the only thing the rest of us can do is just to not notice it.
Not to notice it? But it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have, and it doesn't happen anywhere near so often. My, I hate to go to bed on a night like this. Gracious, I better hurry. Those two will be up to all hours. Good night, Luella, Julia. Good night, Myrtle.
Can you get home safe,
Oh,
Luella?
it's clear as day. I could see Mr. Soames scowling out the window now. You'd think we'd been to a dance the way men folk carry on. Good night, Julia.
Good night, Luella.
I'll see you on Sunday.
See you then. Well, we had a real good time.
You're late enough.
Now, Frank, it ain't any later than usual.
And stopping at the corner to gossip with a lot of heads?
Now, don't be grouchy. Come outside and smell my heliotrope in the moonlight. Come on. Isn't that wonderful? What did you do all the time I was away?
Oh, I read, as usual. What were the girls gossiping about tonight?
Well, believe me, Frank, there was something to gossip about.
Simon Stimson. Far gone, was he?
Worst I've ever seen him. Frank, how'll that ever end? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
I guess I know more about Simon Stimson's affairs than anybody in this town. Some people just ain't cut out for small town life. I don't know how that'll end, but there's nothing we can do but just leave it alone. Get in.
No, not yet. Frank, I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
Frank, I think it's my duty to make plans for you to get a real rest and change. And if I get that legacy, I'm going to insist on it.
Now, Julia, there's no sense in going over this again.
Frank, you're just unreasonable.
It's getting late. First thing you know, you'll catch a cold. I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you'll have your wood chopped. For a while, anyway. No. Start getting upstairs.
Oh, dear. It seems like there's always so many things to pick up around here. You know, Frank, Miss Fairchild always locks her front door every night. All those people up at that part of town do.
That's the problem with them. They're getting citified. They don't have anything fit to burgle, and everybody knows it.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window.
Oh, let me look just a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no moon there. George, do you know what I think? Do you? I think the moon's getting nearer and nearer, and there'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. The moon we're getting near, and the men that sit up all night with telescopes, we see it first, and they tell us about it. And it'd be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shown on South America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Well, probably is.
Now, that ain't Grover's Corners. Most of the lights in town are out. There's Constable Warren checking a few doors on Main Street. And here comes Senator Webb after putting his newspaper to bed.
Evening, Bill.
Evening, Mr. Webb.
Quite a moon. Yeah. Sounds like white tonight.
Simon Stimson's rolling around a little. Saw his wife out on the hunt for him, so I looked the other way. There he is now.
Evening, Simon. Sounds all settled down for the night. Good evening. Sounds all settled down for the night. Maybe we should do the same. Can I walk away with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's going to turn out, Mr. Webb.
Well, I seen a peck of trouble, one thing after another. And now, Bill, you see my boy smoking cigarettes, just give him a word, will you? He thinks a lot of you, Bill.
I don't think he smokes no cigarettes, Mr. Webb. At least ways, not more than 2 or 3 a year.
Well, I hope not. Good night, Bill.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
Hey, who is that out there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, Papa, it's me.
What are you doing out of bed?
I don't know. I just can't get to sleep yet. The moonlight's so wonderful. And the smell of Miss Gibbs' heliotrope. Can you smell it?
Yes. Got any troubles on your mind, Emily?
Troubles, Papa? No.
Well, don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Good night, Papa.
I never told you about the letter Jane Crawford got from her minister when she was sick. On the envelope, the address is like this. It said, J.A. Crawford, the Crawford Farms, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
What's so funny about that?
Well, listen, I'm not done. United States of America, continent of North America, the Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, and the mind of God. That's what it said on the envelope.
What do you know?
And the postman brought it just the same.
What do you know?
Well, that's all the first act, friends. You can go and smoke now, those of you that smoke. Summers and winters have cracked the mountains a little bit more, and the rains have brought down some more of the dirt. A number of babies that weren't even born before have already begun talking regular sentences. And a number of people who thought they were ripe and spry begin to find out that they can't bound up a flight of stairs like they used to be able to, without their heart fluttering a little. All this can happen in 1,000 days. Nature's been pushing and contriving in other ways, too. A number of young people fell in love and got married. Yes, the mountain bit away a few more fractions of an inch. Millions of gallons of water passed by the mill. And here and there, a new home was set up under a roof. Most everybody in the world gets married. You know what I mean? In our town, there are hardly any exceptions. Most everybody climbs into their graves married. The first act is called the daily life. This act is called love and marriage, and I bet you can guess what the third act's about. So, it's 3 years later, 1904. July 7th, just after high school commencement. That's the time most of our young people decide to jump up and get married. After they pass their last examinations and Cicero's orations in solid geometry, they suddenly feel themselves fit to be married. It's early morning again, only this time it's been raining. It's been pouring and thundering. Mrs. Gibbs' garden and Mrs. Webb's here. Drenched. Those bean poles and key vines? Drenched. All on Main Street yesterday looked like it was blowing curtains along. Don't know now. Maybe begin again any minute. There's a 5:10 train from Boston. And here comes Mrs. Webb and Mrs. Gibbs downstairs to make breakfast, just as if it were an ordinary day. Now, I don't need to point out to the ladies in this audience that both these women they see before them, both of these women cook 3 meals a day. One for 20 years, the other for 40. And never a summer vacation. They raise 2 children apiece, washed, cooked, cleaned the house, and never a nervous breakdown. Never thought themselves hard used either. It's like what one of those Middle West poets once said. You got to love life to have life, and you got to have life to love life. It's what they call a vicious circle.
Get up, Bessie.
Here comes Howard Newsom and Bessie delivering the milk. And there's Sarah Cobb delivering the paper like his brother.
Good morning, son. And then the paper I looked at?
Not much, except the best baseball pitcher Grover's Corners ever had.
baseball.
That's the way it goes. Back in '84, we had a player side. Our name was George Gibbs, coach. His name is Hank Todd. He went to Maine to become a preacher. Wonderful ball player. So that's the way I look at it. Hey, man, sit down, right? Bill? Good morning, kids.
Good morning, Howie.
Been about the way, man. Think we got to clear up now.
Certainly helpful, Bill.
So how much do you want today?
Well, Howie, I'm gonna have a house full of relations. Teach me only 3 milk and 2 cream.
3 and 2 agree. I want to say something so close to be very, very happy with this kid. No, they will.
I am looking forward. Can you hear me, Mother?
Yes, ma'am. 2 agree.
Well, it's raining again, Howie.
Well, I was telling this kid clear up. My wife said, tell you what, hopefully very happy this way. No, they will.
Thank you, Mr. Newsom, and thank Mrs. Newsom. We hope on seeing you at the wedding.
Yes, ma'am, we'll be there. Couldn't miss that. Come on, Betsy.
Well, Ma, the day has come. You're losing one of your chicks.
Oh, now, Frank Gibbs, don't you say another word. I feel like crying every minute. Just sit down and drink your coffee.
The groom's up shaving himself, only there ain't an awful lot to shave. Whistling and singing like he's glad to leave us. Every now and then he says, "I do" to the mirror, but it don't sound convincing to me.
I declare, Frank, I don't know how he'll get along. I've arranged his clothes and seen to it his feet are dry and he's got warm things on. Frank, they're too young. Emily won't think of such things. He'll catch death and cold within a week.
I remember my wedding morning, Julie.
Now don't you start that, Frank.
I was the scaredest young fella in the state of New Hampshire. Thought I'd made a mistake for sure. When I saw you coming down that aisle, I thought you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. Only trouble was I'd never seen you before. There I was in the Congregational Church marrying a total stranger.
And how do you think I felt? Frank, weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces, that's what they are. Here, I made something for you.
Why, Julia Hersey, French toast.
Ain't hard to make, and I had to do something.
How'd you sleep last night, Julia?
Well, I heard a lot of the hours struck off.
Yeah. I get a shock every time I think about George setting out to be a family man. That great gangly thing. I'll tell you, Julia, there's nothing in the world so terrifying as the son. The relationship between father and son is the darndest, awkwardest.
Mother and daughter's no picnic, let me tell you.
They'll have some troubles, I suppose, but that's none of our business. Everybody has a right to their own troubles.
People are meant to live 2 by 2 in this world. Ain't natural to be lonesome.
Do you know one of the things I was afraid of when I married you?
Oh, go along with you.
I was afraid we didn't have conversation material more than last us a few weeks. That's a fact. Well, you and I have been conversing for 20 years now without any noticeable barren spells.
Well, good weather, bad weather. Ain't very choice, but I always find something to say. Did you hear Rebecca stirring around upstairs?
No, only day of the year she isn't managing everybody's business up there. She's hiding in her room. I got the idea she's crying.
Oh, Lord sakes, this has got to stop. Rebecca! Rebecca, come down and get your breakfast!
Good morning, everybody. Only 4 more hours to live.
George Gibbs, where are you going?
Just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
But not without your overshoes first. It's raining torrents.
Oh, Ma, it's just a step.
George, do as your mother tells you.
From tomorrow on, you can kill yourself in all weathers. But while you're in my house, you'll live wisely, thank you. Perhaps Mrs. Webb isn't used to callers at 7 in the morning. Take a cup of coffee first.
Be back in a minute. Good morning, Mother Webb.
Goodness, George, you frightened me. Now, George, I hate to say it,
You can come in a minute out of the rain, but I really can't ask you in.
Why not?
George, you know as well as I do, the groom can't see his bride on the day of the wedding. Not until he sees her in the church.
That's just a superstition. Morning, Mr. Webb.
Good morning, George.
Superstition like that, do you?
There's a lot of common sense in superstitions, George.
Millions have followed it, George. And you don't want to be the first to fly in the face of custom.
How's Emily?
She hasn't waked up yet. Haven't heard a sound out of her.
Emily's asleep?
No wonder we were up till hours packing and sewing. Now I'll tell you what I'll do. You sit down and drink this cup of coffee with Mr. Webb, and I'll go upstairs and make sure she don't come down and surprise you. There's some bacon too, but don't be long about it.
Well, George, how are you?
I'm fine. Mr. Webb, what common sense could be in a superstition like that?
Well, you see, on a wedding day, a girl's mind's full of clothes and one thing another. Don't you think that's probably it?
Yeah, I never thought of that.
And girls have to be mighty nervous on a wedding day.
Gosh, I wish a person could get married without that marching up and down.
Yes, every man that's ever lived has felt that way about it, my boy. But it hasn't been any use. It's the women pull to build up weddings, my boy. For why now the women have it all their own. Yes, a man looks mighty small at a wedding, George. All those good women standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure the knots tied in a mighty public way.
Well, you believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Yes. Oh, yes. Don't misunderstand me, my boy. Marriage is a wonderful thing, and don't you forget that.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
Well, you see, I'd taken a little more time to get settled down and go to college. And, well, Mrs. Webb, she wasn't that much younger than what Emily is. Oh, not that age has much to do with it compared with other things.
What were you going to say, Mr. Webb?
I don't know. Was I going to say something? George, the other night I was thinking of some advice my father gave me on my wedding day. You see, he said, Charles, he said, start right off showing who's boss. That's a given order, even if it don't make sense. That way she'll learn to obey. And he also said, if anything about her irritates you, her conversation or anything, just get right up and leave the house. That way it'll make it clear to her. Oh yes, he also said, never let your wife know how much money you have. Never.
Well, I couldn't exactly.
So I took the opposite of his advice, and I've been happy ever since. So let that be a lesson to you, George. Don't ask advice on personal matters. George, are you going to raise chickens on your farm?
What?
Are you raising chickens on your farm?
Oh, yeah, Uncle Luke's
A
never...
book came to my office the other day on the final system of raising chickens. I'm thinking it's about a small way myself.
Charles
Made
Webb,
a solar.
are you talking about that incubator again?
Well, Myrtle, if you want to give the boy some good advice, I'll go upstairs and leave you alone with him.
Now, George, Emily's got to come down and eat her breakfast. She sends you her love, but she doesn't want to lay eyes on you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Well, Myrtle, I guess you haven't heard of that older superstition.
What's that, Charles?
It's the caveman. Don't let the bridegroom see his father-in-law the day of the wedding or near it. Now, remember that.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Webb. Now, I just have to interrupt you again. You see, we want to know how this whole thing began, this wedding, this plan to spend a lifetime together. We're awfully interested in how big things like this start. You know how it is, you're 21, 22, you make a couple decisions, and then, whoosh, you're 70. You've been alive for 50 years, and that white-haired lady sitting next to you has had over 50,000 meals with you. How do such things begin? George and Emily are going to show you the conversation they had when they first knew that, as the saying goes, they were meant for one another. But before they do that, I want you to remember back to a time when you were very young. particularly the days when you were first in love, when you were like a person, sleepwalking, and you didn't quite see the streets you were walking in, and you didn't quite hear what was being said to you. You're a little bit crazy. Do you remember that for me now? We'll be getting out of school at around 3 o'clock. George has just been elected president of the senior class, and being as it's June, that means he'll be president all next year. And Emily has just been elected secretary and treasurer, and I don't have to tell you how important that is. Ah, here they are coming down Main Street now.
Oh, I can't, Louise. I gotta go home. Goodbye. Oh, Ernestine! Ernestine, can you come over tonight and do Latin? Isn't that Cicero the worst thing? Well, tell your mother you have to. Goodbye. Oh, goodbye, Helen. Goodbye, Fred.
Can I carry your books home for you, Emily?
Why, thank you. It isn't far.
Excuse me 1 minute, Emily, will you? Just stay Bob, thumb a little late, start practice, and throw her some long high ones.
Oh, goodbye, Lizzie.
Bye, Liz. I'm awful glad you were elected too, Emily.
Thank you.
Emily, why are you so mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
You've been acting so funny lately.
Well, since you ask, I might as well say it right out. George, oh, goodbye, Miss Corcoran.
Goodbye, Miss Corcoran. What is it?
I don't like the whole change that's come over you in the last year. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I've just got to tell the truth and shame the devil.
Change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot. And I used to watch you while you did everything, because we've been friends for so long. But then you began spending all your time at baseball, and you never stopped to speak to anybody anymore. Not to really speak. Not even to your own family you didn't. And George, it's a fact. Ever since you've been elected captain, you've got awful stuck up and conceited, and all the girls say so. And it hurts me to hear him say it. But I gotta agree with him a little, because it's true.
Gosh, Emily, I never thought that such a thing was happening to me. I guess it's hard for a fellow not to have some faults creep into his character.
I always expect a man to be perfect, and I think he should be.
I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
Well, my father is. And as far as I can see, your father is. There's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be too.
Well, I feel that it's the other way around, that men aren't naturally good, but girls are.
Well, you might as well know right now that I'm not perfect. It's not as easy for a girl to be perfect as a man, because, well, we girls are more nervous. Now, I'm sorry I said all that about you. I don't know what made me say it.
Emily?
Now I can see that it's not the truth at all, and I suddenly feel it's not important anyway.
Emily, would you like an ice cream soda or something before you go home?
Well, thank you. I would.
Hello, George. Hello, Emily. What'll it be? Why, Emily Webb, what have you been crying about?
Oh, she got an awful scare, Miss Morgan. That hardware store wagon almost ran right over her. Everybody says Tom Huckins drives like a crazy man.
Well, here, you take a good sip of water. You know, I tell you, you gotta look both ways before you cross Main Street these days. Gets worse every year. What'll it be?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate, Miss.
No, Emily. Have an ice cream soda with me.
Well,
2 strawberry ice cream sodas, Mrs. Morgan.
2 strawberry ice cream sodas. Yes, sir, yes, sir. You know, I'd like to tell you right now that there are 250 horses in Grover's Corners. This minute I'm talking to you. The inspector was in here yesterday. Seems they're bringing in these new automobiles. Best thing to do is just stay at home. Why, I remember when a dog used to sleep all day in the middle of Main Street. Nothing ever coming along to disturb it. Well, there you are. Yes, Miss Ellis? Be with you in a moment. How may I help you?
they're so expensive.
No, don't you think of that. We're celebrating our election. And then do you know what else I'm celebrating?
No.
I'm celebrating because I've got a friend that tells me all the things that ought to be told to me.
George, please don't think of that. I don't know what made me say it. It's not true. You're really
No,
nice.
Emily, you stick to it. I'm glad you spoke to me like you did. But you'll see, I'm going to change so quick, You bet I'm gonna change. And Emily, I want to ask you a favor.
What?
If I go to State Agriculture College next year, will you write me a letter once in a while?
I certainly will. I certainly will, George. It certainly seems like being away for 3 years, you'd get out of touch with things. Maybe letters from Grover's Corners wouldn't be so interesting after a while. Grover's Corners isn't a very important place when you think of, New Hampshire, but I think it's a very nice town.
The day wouldn't come when I wouldn't want to know everything about our town. I know that's true, Emily.
Well, I'll try to make the letters interesting.
You know, Emily, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if he thinks it's important to go to agriculture school to be a good farmer.
Why, George?
Yeah, and some of them say it's even a waste of time. You can get all that information out of the pamphlets the government sends out. And Uncle Luke's getting old. He's about ready for me to start in taking over his farm, tomorrow if I could.
My!
And like you say, being gone all that time, and other places, meeting other people, gosh, if anything like that can happen, I don't want to go away. I guess new people probably aren't any better than the old ones. I'll bet they almost never are. Emily, I feel that you're as good a friend as I've got, and I don't need to go to other towns to meet new people.
But George, maybe it's very important for you to go and learn all that about cattle judging and soils and those things. Of course, I don't know.
Emily, I'm going to make up my mind right now. I won't go. I'll tell Pa about it tonight.
Why, George, I don't see why you have to decide right now. It's a whole year away.
Emily, I'm glad you spoke to me about that fault in my character. What you said was right, but there was one thing wrong in it. And that's where you said I wasn't noticing people. And you, for instance, why, you say you're watching me when I did everything. Well, I was doing the same about you. Why, sure, I thought about you as one of the chief people I thought about. I always made sure where you were sitting on the bleachers and who you were sitting with. And for 3 days now, I've tried to walk home with you, but something's always gotten in the way. Yesterday, I was standing by the wall waiting for you, and you walked home with Miss Corcoran.
Oh, George, life's awful funny. How could I have known that?
Listen, Emily, I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to agriculture school next year. I think once you've found a person you're very fond of, I mean a person who's fond of you too, and who likes you well enough to be interested in your character, well, I think that's just as important as college is, and even more so. That's what I think.
I think that's awfully important too.
Emily,
Yes, George?
if I do improve and make a big change, would you be? I mean, could you be?
Oh, I am now. And I always have been.
So I guess this is an important talk we've been having.
Yes. Yes.
Wait just a minute and I'll walk you home. Miss Morgan. I'm gonna have to go home to get you the money to pay for.
Why, George Gibbs, do you mean to tell me
Yes,
that...
but I had reasons, Miss Morgan. Oh, look, here's my gold watch. You can hold on to that until I come home. Come on.
That's all right, George. You keep your watch. I'll trust you 10 years. And not a day over. Is that all over your shock, Emily?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Morgan. It was nothing.
Well, now let's get on with the wedding. There are a lot of things to be said about a wedding. A lot of thoughts that go on during a wedding. Naturally, we can't fit them all into one wedding, especially not a wedding in Grover's Corners, where they're awfully plain and short. This way, I take on the role as a minister. That gives me the right to say a few more things. After a while, now the play gets pretty serious. You see, churches say that marriage is sacrament. Well, I don't quite know what that means, but I can sure guess. It's like what Mrs. Gibbs said a few minutes ago. People are meant to go through life 2 by 2. This was a good wedding. The people are young, but they come from a good state, and they chose right. The real hero of the scene isn't on stage at all. We all know who that is. It's like one of those European fellows once said. Every time a child is born into the world, it's nature's attempt to create a perfect human being. Well, we've seen nature pushing and contriving for some time now. We all know she's interested in quantity, but I think she's interested in quality, too. Maybe she's trying to make it a governor for the state of New Hampshire. At least that's what Emily hopes. And don't forget the other witnesses at this wedding. The ancestors. Millions of them. Most of them set out to go through life 2 by 2 also. Millions of them. Well, that's all my sermon. Wasn't very long anyways.
I don't know why I should be crying. I suppose there's nothing to cry about. This morning, at breakfast, it just came over me. There was Emily, eating her breakfast like she's done for the last 17 years. And now she's going out to eat it somewhere else. I suppose that's it. And Emily, she suddenly said, I can't eat another mouthful. And she laid her head down and she cried. Oh, I've got to say, you know there's something downright cruel about sending our girls out of marriage like that. It's cruel, I know, but I just couldn't get myself to say anything. I went into a blindness of that myself. The whole world's wrong, that's what's the matter. There they come.
There used to be a lot of that sort of thing in the old days. Rome and so forth. But we're more civilized now. So they say.
George, what's the matter?
Mom, I don't want to grow old. Why is everybody pushing me so?
George, you wanted it.
No, Mom, listen to me.
No, George, you're a man now.
Mom, listen, for the last time I asked
George,
you.
stop. If anybody should hear you, I'm ashamed.
What? Where's Emily?
Oh, George, you gave me such a turn.
Cheer up, Mom. I'm getting married.
Let me catch my breath a minute.
No, Ma, save Thursday night for Emily and I. Every Thursday night, Emily and I are having dinner at your place. You look all shook up. Come on, we gotta get ready for this.
Never felt so alone in my whole life. And George, over there. Oh, I hate him. I wish I was dead. Papa!
Now, don't get upset.
But Papa, I don't want to get married.
Everything's going to be all right.
Why can't I stay for a while just as I am? Let's go away.
No, Emily, now stop and think a minute.
Don't you remember what you used to say all the time? That I was your girl. There must be lots of places we can go to. I'd work for you. I could keep house.
You're just nervous. Now, you're not thinking clearly. George, you're marrying the best young fellow in the world. George is a fine fellow.
But Papa...
George, I'm giving my daughter away. Do you think you can take care of her?
Mr. Webb, I want to try. Emily, I love you, Emily. I need you.
Well, if you love me, help me. All I want is someone to love me.
I will, Emily. Emily, I'll try.
And I mean forever. Do you hear? Forever and ever.
Come, the wedding clothes. Now, everything's going to be all right. Come quick.
You, George, take this woman, Emily. to be your wedded wife.
Perfectly lovely wedding. Loveliest wedding I've ever seen. Oh, I do love a good wedding, don't you? Doesn't she make a lovely bride?
Till death do us part.
I do.
And do you, Emily, think this wedding is yours?
I don't know when I've seen such a lovely wedding. But I always cry. I don't know why it is, but I always cry. I just like to see young people happy, don't
Till
you?
death do us part.
Oh, I think
I
it's
do.
lovely.
The ring. Marriage? Do I believe in it? I don't know. I suppose I do. Anne marries Anne. Millions of them. The cottage, the go-kart, the Sunday afternoon drives in the Ford, the first rheumatism, the grandchildren, the second rheumatism, the deathbed, the reading of the will. Once in 1,000 times. It's interesting. Now, Mendelssohn's Wedding March.
Happiness is the greatest thing, the most important thing is to be happy.
Well, that's all the second act, folks. 10 minutes of cushion. This time, 9 years have gone by, friends. Summer, 1913. Gradual changes happening in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rare. Farmers are starting to drive into town in Fords now. Everybody locks their house doors at night. Ain't been a burglar in town yet, but they've all heard about them. Yet, you'd be surprised. On the whole, things don't change much around here. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop, a windy hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. Come up here on a fine afternoon and see range upon range of hilltops, mighty blue they are, up by Lake Sunapi and Lake Winnipesaukee. And if you go further north, you can see the White Mountains on Mount Washington. Of course, our favorite mountain, Mount Monadnock, is right here. And all around it lie these towns. Jaffrey and North Jaffrey and Peterborough and Dublin, and then way down there, quite a ways, is Grover's Corners. Yeah, it's a beautiful spot up here. Mountain laurel and lilacs. You know, I often wonder why people would rather be buried in Woodland and Brooklyn. And they may pass the same time up here in New Hampshire. Over here are the old graves. 1670s. Strong-minded people, come a long way to be independent. Summer folk walk around there laughing at the funny names on the tombstones. They don't do no harm. And genealogists come up from Boston. Get paid by the city folk to look up their ancestors. We all want to make sure we're daughters of the American Revolution and of the Mayflower. And I guess that don't do any harm either. Up here are the Civil War veterans. Iron flags on their graves. New Hampshire boys had a notion the Union ought to be kept together, though none of them had seen more than 50 miles of it themselves. All they knew was one name, friends. The United States of America. United States of America. And they went and died about it. Over here's a new section of the graves. Here's your friend Mrs. Gibbs and Mr. Stimson, organist at the Congregational Church. And of course, Mrs. Soames, who enjoyed the wedding so much. You remember her. And then the Webb's boy, Wally, died when his appendix burst on a camping trip up to Crawford's Notch. Yes, a lot of sorrow has kind of quieted itself down up here. People just wild with grief bring their loved ones up here in those days. Sunny, rainy days, snow. We all know how it is. A lot of thoughts come up here, night and day, but there ain't no post office. Now, there are a lot of things that we all know, but we don't take out and look at very often. We all know that something is eternal. And it ain't names, and it ain't houses, and it ain't the earth, and it ain't even the stars. In our bones, we all know that something is eternal. And that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people that have ever lived have been telling us that for 5,000 years. Yet you'd be surprised how many people let go hold of the fact. There's something way down deep that is eternal about every human being. You know, the dead don't stay interested in us living for very long. Gradually, they lose hold of the earth and the ambitions they had and the pains they suffered and the pleasures they had and the people they loved. They get weaned away. Yes, that's how I like to put it, weaned away. They stay up here while the earth part of them burns away, burns out. And in that time, they slowly get indifferent to what's going on in Grover's Corners. They're waiting. They're waiting for something they know is coming, something wonderful and great. Aren't they waiting for that eternal part in them to come out? Clear? Now, some of what they're going to say may hurt your feelings, but that's the way it is. Mother and daughter, father and son, enemy and enemy, money and miser. All those terribly important things tend to grow pale around here. But what's left? Your memory's gone, and your identity. Here comes some of the living folk. That's Joe Stoddard, the undertaker, supervising a new-made grave. And here comes Sam Gray, a New Hampshire boy that left to go out west.
Good afternoon, Joe Stoddard.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me see now. Do I know you?
I'm Sam Craig.
Gracious sakes alive, of all people. Should have known you'd be back for the funeral. You've been away a long time, Sam.
Yes, I've been away over 12 years. I'm in business out in Buffalo now, Joe. I was in the East when I got news of my cousin's death. So I thought I'd combine things a little and come and see the old home. You look well.
Yes. Can't complain. Very sad our journey today, Samuel.
Yes.
Yes. I always say, I hate to supervise when a young person is taken. They'll be here in a few minutes now. I had to come in early today. My son's supervising at the home.
Old Farmer Carter. I used to do chores for him after school. He has a lumbago.
Yes, we brought Farmer Carter here a number of years ago now.
Hey, this is my Aunt Julia. I'd forgotten that she... Of course.
Yes, Doc Gibbs lost his wife about 2 or 3 years ago now. And today's another pretty bad blow for him, too.
That's my sister Carrie's boy, Sam. Sam Craig.
I'm always uncomfortable when they're around.
Simon.
Do they choose their own verses much, Joe?
No, not usual. Mostly the bereaved pick a verse.
Doesn't sound much like Aunt Julia. How many of those Hersey sisters left now? Let me see. Want to see my fathers and mothers?
Over there with the Craigs, Avenue F.
He was organist at church, wasn't he? Drank a lot, we used to say.
Nobody's supposed to know about it. He'd seen a peck of trouble. Took his own life, you know?
Oh, did he?
Hung himself in the attic. They tried to hush it up, but of course it got around. He chose his own epitaph. You can see it there. It ain't a verse exactly.
Well, it's just some notes of music. What is it?
Oh, I wouldn't know. It was wrote up at the Boston papers at the time.
Joe, what did she die of?
Who?
My cousin.
Oh, didn't you know? Had some trouble bringing a baby into the world. Boy's our second, though. There's a boy about 4 years old.
Your grave's going to be over here.
Yes, there's not that much more room over here among the Gibbses, so we opened up a whole new Gibbs section over in Avenue B. Well, if you'll excuse me now, I see they're coming.
Who is it, Julia?
My daughter-in-law, Emily Webb.
The road up here must have been awfully muddy. What did she die of, Julia?
In childbirth,
Childbirth? I'd forgotten all about that. Wasn't life awful? And wonderful.
Wonderful, was it?
Simon, now remember.
I remember Emily's wedding. Wasn't it a lovely wedding? And I remember her reading the class poem at graduation exercises. Emily was one of the brightest girls to ever graduate from high school. I've heard Principal Wilkins say so time after time. I called on them at their new farm just before I died. Perfectly beautiful farm.
That's right down the road from where I lived. Rexmart Farm.
I always liked that hymn. I was hoping they'd sing a hymn.
Gibbs. Emily. Hello.
It's raining. Yes, dear. Let's rest
It seems thousands and thousands of years since Papa had remembered that was my favorite hymn. I wish I'd been here a long time. I don't like being new here. Oh, how do you do, Mr. Simpson?
How do you do, Emily?
Mother Gibbs, George and I have made that farm into just the best place you ever saw. We thought of you all the time. We wanted to show you the new barn and a great long cement drinking fountain for the stock. We bought that out of the money you left us. I did? Don't you remember, Mother Gibbs? The legacy you left us? Why, it was over $350.
Yes, Emily.
Well, there's a patent device on this drinking fountain so that it never overflows, and it never sinks below a certain mark they have there. It's fine. It won't be the same to George without me. But it's a lovely farm. Black people don't understand, do they?
No, dear. Not very much.
They're sort of shut up in little boxes, aren't they? I feel as though I knew them last 1,000 years ago. My boy is spending the day at Mrs. Carter's. Oh, Mr. Carter, my little boy is spending the day at your house.
Is he?
Yes, he loves it there. Oh, Mother Gibbs, we have a Ford too. Never gives any trouble. I don't drive though. Mother Gibbs, when does this feeling go away? Of being one of them? How long does it, dear?
Just wait and be patient.
I know. Look, they're finished. They're going. Oh, look, Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you. He looks just like George, doesn't he? Oh, Mother Gibbs, I never realized before how troubled and how in the dark life persons are. Look at him. I loved him so. From morning till night, that's all they are. Troubled.
Well, cooler than it was.
Yes, the rain's cooled it off a little.
Those northeast winds always do the same thing. If it ain't a rain, it's a 3-day blow.
But Mother Gibbs, one can go back. One can go back there again into living. I feel it. I know it. Why, just then for a moment, I was thinking about the farm. And for a minute I was there. And my baby was on my lap as plain as day.
Yes, of course you can.
I can go back and live all those days over again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't.
But it's true, isn't it? I can go and live back there again.
Yes, some have tried, but they soon come back here.
Don't do it, Emily.
Emily, don't. It's not what you think it would be.
But I won't live over a sad day. I'll choose a happy one. I'll choose the day I first knew that I loved George. No. No, why should that be painful?
Because you not only live it, you see yourself living it.
Yes.
And as you watch, you see what they, down there, never know. You see the future. You already know what is going to happen.
But is that painful? Why?
That isn't the only reason you shouldn't do it, Emily. When you've been here longer, you'll see that. Our life here is to forget all that, and to look only to what is ahead, and to be ready for what is ahead. When you've been here longer, you'll understand.
But Mother Gibbs, how can I ever forget that life? It's all I know. It's all I had.
It isn't wise, dear. Really, it isn't.
But it's a thing I must know for myself. I'll choose a happy day anyway.
No. At least choose an unimportant day. The least important day in your life. It will be important enough.
But it can't be since I was married. Or since the baby was born. I can choose a birthday at least, can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
All right, February 11th, 1899. A Tuesday. You want any special time of the day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
Begin at dawn. You remember it had been snowing the past couple days, but it stopped the night before. They had begun clearing the roads. The sun is coming up.
There's Main Street. Why, there's Mrs. Morgan's drugstore before she changed it. And there's the livery stable.
Yes, it's 1899. This is 14 years ago.
Well, that's the town I knew as a little girl. And there's the old white fence that used to be around our house. Oh, I'd forgotten that. I love it so. Are they inside?
Yes, your mother will be coming downstairs in a few moments to make breakfast.
Will she?
And remember, your father had been away for the past few days, but he'd caught the early morning train back.
No.
Yes, he'd been making a speech back at his old college in Western New York, at Concord.
Oh, there's Howie Newsom. And there's our policeman. But he's dead. He died.
Whoa, Betsy. Morning, Bill.
Morning, Howie. You're up early. They're rescuing a party. Darn near frozen to death down by Polish Town there. Just got drunk and decided to lay the snowdrift. Thought he was the devil when I shook him.
Oh, there's Joe Prowl.
Morning, Howie. Morning, Mr. Warren.
Morning, Joe.
Children, Worley, Emily, time to get up. Mama, I'm here. Oh, how young Mama looks. I didn't know Mama was ever that young. You can come and dress by the kitchen fire if you like, but hurry.
Yes, ma'am. Don't go on. Come on, Betsy.
Mama, I can't find my blue hair ribbon anywhere.
Just open your eyes, dear. I laid it out special for you on the dresser. If it had been a snake, it would have bit you.
Yes, yes.
Morning, Bill.
Morning, Mr. Webb. You're up early.
Yeah, it's been at my old college in New York. Anything happening here?
Rescuing a Polish fella. Darn near froze to death, he was.
Let's put in the paper.
Wasn't much.
Morning, Mother.
How did it go, Charles?
I guess I told him a thing or two. Anything going on here?
Nothing special. Been right cold. Howie Newsom says that it's 10 below over to his barn.
Yes, well, it's cooler than that down at Hamilton College. Students here to fall now. Take Christian. Are there any errors in the paper?
None that I noticed. Charles, don't forget, it's Emily's birthday. Did you remember to get her anything?
Yes, I got her something right here. Where's my girl? Where's my
Don't interrupt her now, Charles. You can see her at breakfast. She's late enough as it is. Hurry up, children. Now I don't want to have to call you again.
I can't bear it. They're so young and beautiful. Why did they ever have to get old? Mama, I'm here. I'm grown up. I love you all. Everything. I can't look at everything hard enough. Good morning, Mama.
Happy birthday, dear, and many happy returns. There are some surprises waiting for you on the kitchen table.
Oh, Mama, you shouldn't have. I can't. I can't.
But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat your breakfast good and slow. I want you to grow up and be a good, strong girl. That and the blue papers from your Aunt Carrie, and I reckon you can guess who brought over the postcard album. I found it on the doorstep when I went to get the milk. George Gibbs. Why, he must have come over in the cold pretty early. Right nice of him.
Oh, George, I'd forgotten that. Oh.
Chew that bacon good and slow. It'll keep you warm on a cold day.
Oh, Mama. Just look at me for a moment as though you really saw me. Mama, 14 years have gone by. I'm dead. Your grandmother, Mama. I married George Gibbs, Mama. Wally's dead, too. His appendix burst on a camping trip to Crawford's Notch. Don't you remember? We felt just terrible about it. But now, just for a moment, we're all here together. Just for a moment, let's be happy. Let's look at one another.
That in the yellow paper is something I found among your grandmother's things. You're old enough to have it now, and I thought you'd like it.
And this is from you? It's just lovely, Mom. It's just what I always wanted. It's beautiful.
Well, I hoped you liked it. Your Aunt Nora couldn't find one in Concord, so I had to send all the way to Boston. Wally has something for you, too. He made it at manual training class. He's awful proud of it. Be sure to make a big fuss. Your father has something for you also. Don't quite know what it is myself.
Where's my girl?
Shh, here he comes.
Where's my birthday girl?
I can't. I can't go on. Everything goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. I didn't realize. So all that was going on. And we never noticed. Take me back up the hill to my grave. But first, wait. One more look. Goodbye. Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Grover's Corners. Mom and Papa. Goodbye, the clock's ticking. And my butternut tree. Do any human beings ever realize life as they live it? Every minute?
No. Saints and poets, maybe. They do some.
I'm ready to go back.
Were you happy?
No. I should have listened to you. That's all human beings are, just blind people!
Look, dear, it's clearing up. The stars are coming out.
Oh, Mr. Stimson, I should have listened to them.
Yes. Now you know. Now you know that's what it was to be alive. To move in a cloud of ignorance. To go up and down, trampling on the feelings of those about you. To spend and waste time as though you had a million years. To always be at the mercy of one self-centered passion or another. Now you know. Now you know that that's the happiness that you want to go back to so much. Ignorance and blindness.
Now, Simon Stimson, that ain't the whole truth and you know it. Emily, look at that star. I forget its name.
My boy Joel was a sailor. He knew them all. He'd sit on the porch evenings and tell them all by name. Yes, sir, wonderful. The star is mighty good company.
Yes, yes it is.
Here comes one of them.
That's funny. This isn't a time for one of them to be here.
Mother Gibbs, it's George. It's George.
My boy Joel, the one who knew the stars, used to say it'd take millions of years for that little speck of light to reach Earth. It doesn't seem like a body could believe it. That's what he used to say, millions of years.
Goodness, that isn't any way to behave. He ought to be home.
Mother Gibbs?
Yes, Emily.
They don't understand, do they?
No, dear. They don't understand.
Evening in Grover's Corners. Most of the lights in town are out. Shorty Hawkins at the depot's just watched the Albany train go by. And at the livery stable, somebody's setting up and talking late. It's clear enough. Well, the stars doing that old crisscross in the sky. You know, scholars haven't settled the matter yet, but they seem to think that there are no living beings up there. Just a bunch of fire and dust. But this one's straining away all the time to make something of itself. The strain's so great that every 16 hours everybody has to lie down and get a rest. 11 o'clock in Grover's Corners. Everybody's resting in Grover's Corners. Tomorrow's gonna be another day. Get yourself a good night's rest too. Good night.